What's up, everyone? We had a great interview with Andrew Neeme. We talked about London and other spots around the world, Indian food and music, the awesome content creation that Andrew does, and what direction I may want to go with my content creation, what being a WPT ambassador entails in his awesome endeavor, the lodge in Austin, Texas, where he teamed up with Doug Polk. Of course, there's always poker stories and strategy here as well. Stay tuned. What do you love about London?
I love London. I lived in London for about a year and a half, and I've been back a bunch of times since then. Definitely one of my favorite parts, one of my favorite cities in the world. There's just so much. There's like so much of everything. Even the food. Traditionally, English food gets a super bad rap, but London in particular, there's everything. It's definitely known for like a lot of awesome Indian food. That's where I first discovered the joys of Indian food. The tube, it's usually it might not be the most reliable all the time, but it's awesome to just be able to hop on the tube and get anywhere in the city. There's really nice parks that are all over the place. I'm a fan of the pub life, for better or worse. So really, like for me, it's like what's not to like.
Okay, well, if you have any suggestions for pubs, let me know. I'm more of the park kind of guy and discovered the parks when we were locked down in London. Now I've really learned to appreciate them, but it took a minute. London's got some pretty sweet parks. I don't really get Indian food other than I know it's vegan. It's kind of weird for me, to be honest. Not a huge fan. I've been trying to eat vegan. It's not at all the easiest thing to do.
I will send you some Indian food and pub recommendations once we're off.
Okay. You've got a bit of an interesting story. You're unique, and I feel like your story stands out among poker players. You've got a telecommunications degree, and then you switched to poker. And what's up with that? How did it happen?
Yeah, so I actually went into college as a computer science major. So I started down that path, trying to attain that degree. I guess I nerded out a little bit on computers as a kid. But I guess in high school, I did well until I got accepted to the schools that I wanted to get accepted to, which was basically University of Michigan and Michigan State University. Those are the two schools growing up in Michigan that you sort of shoot for. And, I was always on the path where you have to do well in school, you have to go to a reasonably good college, and then you get a good job, and then you live happily ever after. And so I was, sort of doing that until I got accepted to college. And then I just sort of like lost interest in, studying for school and classes. And that sort of makes it tough for computer science because you have to pass calculus and calculus 2 and calculus 3. And it's really tough if you aren't, bearing down and getting a tutor and being all there. So I just had to switch it up. I switched into telecommunications, which is like a softer version of technology, I would say. It's less hardcore. You learn a little bit about a lot of different things in telecommunications. You mentioned cell phones. That's one of them. It's basically learning about the transfer of information across all media. So that could be, of course, the internet. It could be radio, television. There's also like a little bit of video production in there, which would sort of manifest for me later on in my career. But I guess like with telecommunications, like I said, you learn a little bit about a lot of different things that I didn't really know what I wanted to do specifically. So I did an internship at the end of my college path with a music promotion company because I had played, in a band with my friends in high school. We were never that great, but it was always really fun. And we sort of like kept a little bit of an eye on the music industry, and I played the drums. So I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do leaving college. Let me try an internship with a music promotion company, something in the music industry. And that was pretty dope. I loved that. I went down the music industry route for a handful of years. I started in London and then went back to Los Angeles. And one thing leads to another. Of course, we're fast forwarding through a handful of years here, but ended up enjoying my job in London and not really digging the jobs that I had as much in LA for one reason or another. It just didn't really feel like it had the same vibe. It was a small company in London, and it was a really cool company. The guys that ran it were awesome. And I just didn't find a job that I enjoyed as much as that one when I was in LA. And then around that same time, poker industry is just blasting off. This is around like 2007, 2008. And I just sort of like kind of fell into it. I played as, we all started as a recreational player. Started taking it a little more seriously. And before you know it, I'm taking it very seriously-ish for that time period. And fell out of the music and into the poker thing. And here we are all these years later.
It's an interesting twist that you went into the music industry. And that sounds like that would be related to the kind of content that you're making now. I'm also a bit curious how the telecommunications degree benefited you, or if it did at all.
Yeah. So I had maybe a couple of weeks of video production instruction in telecommunications in that course at Michigan State. But the interesting thing is that the functions of video editing software, they've developed, they've been, I'm sure they're a lot more powerful now. There's a lot more features and stuff. But the basics of it haven't really changed that much. You have your timeline where you drop your video clips on the timeline, you rearrange them, you cut them, you trim them, you drop a music track on top of it sometimes. Maybe you do a voiceover other times, and you arrange it. And, depending on what you're making, maybe there's a little or a lot of artwork that goes into that. And that same functionality is still pretty much there when it comes to the software, the video editing software. And I guess I always just sort of paid attention, whether it's I'm watching a movie or, a TV show or other YouTubers, just sort of pay attention to different details and what people are up to and what makes for a good production, what makes a good video or a good movie, or what's interesting in the cinematography or stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, that stuff just spoke to me a little bit. And I guess with the seed of the 2 weeks or whatever of instruction that I had at college, I never would have predicted that I'd be making poker vlogs, later on in life. But yeah, here we are.
It's kind of funny. I've had moments like that. There were some things later on in life that I basically had no interest in that I did during childhood. I mean, had no interest during childhood, and it seems like now it makes more sense for me to revisit them. It seems to have worked out anyway.
Like what?
Actually, there is some spiritual side, but I did have interest in that. Another one is martial arts and in music. Actually, I did music for 5 years. When you say you played the drums, I was thinking maybe I'll take some drum lessons.
Yeah, and in fifth grade, they tell you to just pick an instrument. And so I had a couple of cousins who had a drum set, and they played the drums. And to me, that was the coolest one that you could pick. You could pick clarinet, you could pick trumpet, I don't know what else, violin. And to me, it's I'll play drums. I'll be a drummer. And so from fifth grade all the way through high school, I was playing in percussion in band and orchestra and stuff. And then played with my friends in our shitty little band too.
Let's get back to the topic of you and your life. You mentioned that you're always paying attention to what makes a good piece of content. How does that apply to poker? Because you have over 180,000 subscribers. I've seen some of your reviews. You definitely seem to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tough for me to explain because there was no, beyond that couple of weeks, which is very close to nothing. There was no real formal instruction that I went through when it came to video production. So yeah, I mean, I guess I generally have paid a little bit more attention, and something that's always maybe sparked me a little bit is that say I'll be watching a movie and someone there's a scene in the movie where there's just this really cool camera angle, or like this series of camera angles, and just the way that they film a scene just resonates with me. And I don't know if that sort of thing is even noticeable to the vast majority of people that are watching something. So like Breaking Bad, I thought that show was amazing with like what they did with cinematography and just like how they presented different scenes and camera angles themselves. And there's different movies where I'll just be like, oh, that was really clever the way that they did that. And I guess at the time when I started making poker vlogs, when I started my YouTube channel, a lot of the media that was being produced was around the high stakes poker scene. Mm-hmm. So the best stuff that I enjoyed the most, and I think a lot of people enjoyed, was like high stakes poker. The WSOP episodes on ESPN. There was a show called The Big Game. I don't know if you're ever on that one, but it was a Poker Stars thing. And then so all these things are like, they're super nosebleed stakes that basically, they're fun to watch. They're great to watch, but basically nobody is going to be able to, play these stakes. It's a dream to play in the WSOP main event. But like the vast majority of stakes that people are playing are either, like 1-2 games or 2-5 games, or just like friendly home games and stuff with their friends and family. So I thought that these are the things that when I'm either watching, when I'm watching a movie or a show, these are the sorts of things that I like about those productions. Maybe I can like bring that, that attention to the stakes that I'm grinding, and just insert some Las Vegas scenery along the way, and trying to produce a little, video or two on my channel. Just thoughtfulness, So a lot of times when someone's making a vlog for YouTube or about their day, they're holding the camera the entire time, and they're going through their day. And they might be genuine, and that's cool, but it's like for the viewer, it gets a little bit exhausting. When the person is holding the camera the entire time, it's going to be shaky a lot of the time. And if that's like the entire video, it gets like a little bit exhausting. You need to just like do these little things, like set the camera down here and talk into it for, like 15 seconds or something, and then change up the angle, like put it over there. You can continue the conversation very smoothly, keep the conversation going like in a somewhat rapid manner, but still keep it understandable for the viewer. Like change up the angle from time to time, but not like in your hand the whole time. So like shot selection is a phrase that is essentially encapsulates all that stuff. So just like be a little bit thoughtful about like capturing the scene, the viewer's experience, and just like little things like that. I feel like they go a long way. And then all the music stuff that's sort of manifested as well. So I tend to like try and be pretty thoughtful about the music selections that go into the videos, and that they match the mood that is trying to be set. So like if I have a winning session, then we want like a little bit of hyped up music. Or if I have a losing session, maybe the music can be a little bit more melancholy and stuff like that. The downside to YouTube is that, you can't use copyrighted stuff if you want to monetize your channel. I don't know if you care about that, but if you want to monetize the channel, you have to use stuff that's, indie and not copyrighted. You have to find artists that will let you use it if you just give them a link in your video description. So I'll sometimes spend like an hour just like trying to find the music track where it's like not copyrighted and fits the mood and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess I was just like trying to be thoughtful about all these different things and package it all together.
Sounds like you've been thoughtful in the sense of what's it like to be the viewer and what the viewer might like as well.
Yeah, you bring up, it's a great point, because you're always like, for me, I'm always trying to like find this balance between, because I guess like I personally find more interest in like, the artsy side of things like that, like in these videos, which is a lot more subjective, and it makes it tough in a poker vlog because, like you said, most people, they want to see the action. They want to see who gets whacked. They want to see how much you won or lost, who won or lost what amount. And let's see that over and over again. And they just never get tired of it. It's wild. Like they never get tired of poker hands themselves, because you have to remember that like a lot of people that are the vast majority of people that are watching poker blogs, they don't get nearly as much time at the poker table as you or I do, you know. So they're working more traditional jobs. They're poker fans. They sort of view this poker life as, you know, some sort of like dream or fantasy, which they may or may not want to actually live, but they can live that through the content creator, and they don't have to risk any money while they, you know, are checking out this story and watching this poker session. But they want to, you know, like feel like they're there at the table. They want to see the collisions. It's exciting and it's fun. And then they want to see, like, you know, the results, the aftermath. So it's tough. And like, that's the stuff that most people want to watch. The more artistic stuff gets skipped by some percentage of people. And then you get a little bit punished on YouTube by the YouTube algorithm when people are skipping a section of your video. So I try, it's like a tough balance for me personally, because, you know, I like flying the drone. I like finding the music tracks. I like, you know, doing all these like time lapses and different things. But you also have to like feed the YouTube engine and the majority of the poker vlog audience. And you have to like walk that path. But yeah, poker itself sort of provides a little story, you know, each hand is a story. Each session is a story. So, you know, that's good in a sense, because it's poker is like an easy way to naturally do storytelling.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's something that can appeal to everyone. Even your life progression is a story. You can make all sorts of stories from it. I presume you've done this quite a bit, and that seems like a solid formula.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that is a solid formula. It's funny because there's sort of like this format, this poker blog format now, where it's like, give a quick intro, where you're at, what are you playing today. That might even be it. Let's dive into this session. Let's dive into the hands. Let's take a look. And then it's like the creator will walk the audience through like 10 different poker hands or whatever. And then the quick outro. This is what happened. This is how much I lost. This is how much I won. I'll be here for the next couple of days, or I'm going out to here next, you know, stay tuned. And that's the solved formula. And people love it because, you know, like I said, it feeds the poker. People get their poker fix that way. So, you know, for better or worse.
Okay, I might have to do some of that. I'm figuring out what to do. I want to do my podcast stuff, but I'm discovering that a lot of the stuff on the podcast I talk about isn't exactly for everyone. It's hard for most people to appreciate all the angles and the work that goes into how you tell a story. Maybe I should do some more mainstream stuff in combination with my passions.
Yeah, I mean, like as far as like content creation goes, it's like when you're making mainstream stuff, you're competing with the entire world, right? So I mean, it depends like what you personally want to get out of it. If we all want to do something that both feeds the soul and, of course, like gets traction and generates numbers. When you do mainstream stuff out there in the world, you're competing with the entire world that's also doing, you know, real life stuff, and that's tough. It's tough to like produce something that's more mainstream and compete in that arena, because you still have to make it like there has to be like something. There has to be like some sort either shock value or like, you know, super unique stories. You know, that dive into a world that hasn't really been explored to some degree, you know, stuff like that. And I'm sure it's possible. And I'm sure that you, through your life, you're of course living a very, I would say a very unique and interesting life. And I think like sharing stories from that life and trying to merge the poker stuff with the real life stuff, I think people would, I think people would be into it. I know I would be into it. You just never know. You just have to try.
You could draw a lot of analogies between poker and life. Some are quite subtle, but you can. An example would be the whole idea of karma, for example, is very much relevant. It's very similar to the idea of range in poker, if that makes sense. I mean, that's how spirituality works. But how many people are going to say, let's go watch Jungle's channel to learn about spirituality?
I mean, I think, you know, if you're setting out to like change a bunch of people's lives, I think you have a tough task ahead of you. But I think if you set out to explain how you view the world, and you do that like from a genuine manner, and you do it in a clear manner, and you know, like in an interesting manner, like we were talking about before, like with all the, the video production nuances and things like that. I think there's some, I feel like there's something there, whether or not people actually start to view poker and karma in their own way, or like in your way, in their lives. Who knows? Who's to say? It's like impossible to say. But, if you start talking about that stuff and you're not just like talking total bullshit out your ass to try and generate views. Like, these are things that you actually believe and that you've thought a lot about, and you sort of convey these ideas and how you incorporate them in your life. I think people would probably tune in to see.
Okay. I sense a little bit of hesitation there, but it sounds like basically you want to use good storytelling with how you view things in a way that gets people interested.
Let me ask you this. Do you think of yourself as like one of the more interesting people in poker?
It depends on what your definition of interesting is.
Well, first of all, I had a little bit of first mover advantage because, like I said, a lot of the poker media at the time was focused on other things, and this was a new format that I sort of dug into and discovered, and it got traction. And I had tried a couple of different things before this, by the way. Like I was posting on Instagram. I tried this like daily challenge where I would post a video every day on Instagram, and that got a little bit of traction, but it's not like it became anything. Sort of like a stepping stone into the next creative idea that I had. I had tried podcasting before that. I had a couple of different podcasts, one or two with like a couple of buddies of mine. And that got a little bit of audience to it, but it's not like it was ever going to become the main, endeavor for me. And then I tried the next thing, and the next thing was like, this blog idea that I had. But yeah, like the reason I asked that, do you think you're one of the more interesting people is, I mean, I definitely do. And I think almost everybody in poker would say that they would consider you to be one of the more interesting people. And it's just a matter of like sort of, encapsulating what's going on from your point of view. What do you think about this? How do you think about poker, and whether you can package that into something that people can tune into and do it repeatedly, and whether you have the interest in packaging that on an ongoing basis, because in content, like consistency is a very big thing. You just have to got to keep showing up, keep recording, keep uploading. But if you look at Negreanu, he wasn't one of the first guys to fire up a poker blog, but he's got Phil Ivey in his episodes, just about every episode. He's playing, the highest stakes stuff, and he brings his personality to it, which we all are very much aware of. And so it's like he brings these things. I don't think I have the biggest personality by any stretch. I think I let my video production do a lot of the filling in, where I'm more introverted. I let the video speak for me a lot of the time, and the poker speak for me. But, Daniel brings his personality and his unique path in poker, and people tune in.
Yeah, I'm thinking to figure out, of trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. Actually, you've done a couple of things that I've tried. I've tried the YouTube videos, but you do more stories. For content, it's always interesting to see the paths that actually work. A bit more complicated than I thought. But yeah, I'll take your insight into consideration, because I think there's something workable there. I want to find out a little bit more about you. First of all, you're a blue collar ambassador. What does that mean?
I'm guessing that that was a description about the poker vlogging itself, because like I said, a lot of the time the poker media was focused on super high stakes and nosebleed stuff. Whereas in my videos, I was playing 5-10 at the Bellagio for a living before I started making the vids. I was a grinder, live poker grinder. And so in vlog number 1, I was like, all right, so I play 5-10, but for the videos, let's start all the way at 1-2. Let's start at the very lowest stakes, and let's have some progression in these videos. And if I win this session, I'll move up to 1-3. If I win that session, I'll move up to 2-5. If I lose that session, I'll move back down to 1-3. So just like try and encapsulate the full Las Vegas live poker, landscape, I guess. And I'm sure that blurb, or I'm guessing that blurb is in reference to, capturing the everyday stakes, the everyday poker games that no one is really making content about, but like doing it in this high quality manner that there's been like so many nights where I would be editing these poker videos, these poker vlogs. These nights turn into mornings, and I'm there on the couch at like 10 in the morning because I just want to bang out the entire edit in one go, because I care about the way that the video looks. And so I wanted to make sure that the 1-2 game that I was playing was captured in a very high quality manner.
I think that's exciting. I don't know if I can do that or not, but I guess I could do some. The obvious thing is I should just do high stakes, but it's usually mixed games that people don't understand. Or usually people don't understand mixed games.
Yeah, it could be a little tough because that this is one of the hurdles of poker vlogging in general, is that if you're not playing like on a live stream show or something, a lot of the high stakes stuff are private games nowadays, and how much vlogging can you do at a private game? But if you tell them that like you're there to be respectful about it, you're capturing your hands, you're capturing the action, and you're not like sticking the camera in people's faces or even revealing who they are at all. You could probably get away with it, and I think that would be the way.
It would be an interesting way to tell people how I play. I want to develop a few ideas to make things more fun. One thing I want to do, and there's a lot of demand for this, I get people all the time who say they want a poker lesson or something. It seems clear that I should try to put some content like that out there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you don't need to necessarily just do one thing, but you definitely want to do the thing that will, I guess, like interest you and spark you the most, because a lot of this stuff, it's very energy intensive, right? And you're gonna you don't want to get burnt out doing something that maybe you think would be interesting to people, but you also don't really enjoy it that much, because if that's the case, then you'll burn out much faster than otherwise. So, you seem like you probably have like a lot of different interests out there in the world. So maybe just trying all these different things, but doing them occasionally is your path. But tough for me to say. I know of course, a lot of people want access to the mind of the jungle when it comes to poker. So I don't think you'd have any trouble, finding people who are, interested in it in that regard.
How's the experience with the Lodge Club in Austin?
Yeah, it's been great. So like at the start of this year, this has been like such an eventful year, for a couple of reasons. A, the WPT stuff as mentioned, but also B, at the start of this year, we officially became co-owners with the Lodge Card Club down in Austin, Texas, as you mentioned. And so, we were on this sort of meetup game trail, myself and my buddy Brad, and we were shooting all over the country, and as mentioned, some international as well. And we'd always thought, this is awesome. But one thing about it is that we're promoting all these companies, casinos and card rooms and stuff, and we don't really have any. We don't have any equity in that, and we don't have any say in how the environment. We can give suggestions on the event itself and on the day itself, but what if we had our own space where all that promotional work just sort of pointed inward towards the thing? And we had been to Texas. We'd been to some card rooms in Texas. They were, of course, amongst the first to be extremely welcoming, because again, we're just like a couple of guys with cameras coming onto the casino floor and saying, yeah, we're going to film all the action and then we're going to upload it to YouTube. And so that was like kind of a tough sell to, casino companies a lot of the time. But the card rooms in Texas, they're independent and there's no gaming board in Texas. And so it just made a lot of sense to go there a bunch and host these events and create content from those rooms. And so, it's a little tough to say, okay, it would be great if we had our own space. That's kind of a big leap into let's make our own space and start a poker room or a card room, because we don't have any operational experience. We also don't live in Texas, and it's, there's just a bunch of hurdles there. Fast forward a little bit to when Doug had moved down to Austin from Las Vegas, and he had discovered these rooms as well, through just a random occurrence. It seemed like he had just kind of stumbled his way into a poker room down there, and discovered that there was in fact quite the landscape of card rooms. And we had gotten to know each other a little bit through content creation. The poker content creation world is probably a pretty small one. And I had done some affiliate stuff for Upswing Poker and gotten to know him that way. And same with Brad. And, of course, we were very well aware of each other. And Doug approached us with the idea of maybe we can all link up. We can use this content creation platforms that we have as a way to, shine a spotlight on a room. And the original idea was to start our own room, but once word got out about that, the lodge, which had been around since 2018, and they had done an amazing job of building up their own brand and their own room, they reached out and said, "We have a better idea. Maybe we should partner up on the lodge, bring you guys in on the the marketing and promotional side of things, as well as you guys have also spent so much time in poker rooms themselves. You can definitely chip in with different ideas. They have all the operational and management experience and an awesome team in place, and it just made perfect sense. So, yeah, so we agreed on a majority ownership purchase.
Okay, that does make a lot of sense. Now you're a businessman. You've got to add that onto your resume. I think it's interesting, and I imagine it would be easier than reinventing the wheel. Just partner with someone who's been working on the wheel. In this case, the hosting of a poker room and all that. It's almost like serendipity.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, it's not like there was a blueprint when I was either in college or even when I started playing poker. It's not like I was foreseeing any particular path into all these different projects that I'm a part of now. But it's just like trying to find different ways to scale this poker thing. For me personally, it's like I don't think I was ever going to be, one of the most successful, poker players in particular. Just the way that the game has evolved, it doesn't really, I don't think, speak to me as much as it did at one point in my career. Like when I was first getting into poker, you could flash back to things, like such as like me never getting into the calculus side of the college career path, the college major. There's shades of that when we look at poker nowadays, and there's a lot of the mathematical side is incredibly important, and all the solver work and all that stuff doesn't speak to me as much. And then marry that with the all the more artistic side of things that I have applied to my poker path. It just kind of became more apparent that I wasn't just going to be grinding my way up into the level of success that I might have once dreamt. So just try and pivot a little bit while still working within poker, trying to do things that grow the game, but also, benefit everyone, including myself.
Well, it definitely created a very interesting path for you. Okay, what are your plans for the future? Do you have any content plans or traveling plans coming up?
So, yeah, there's just so much travel right now between the World Poker Tour. It definitely lives up to its name. I mentioned Cambodia and Australia. We're going to Europe next year, as well as other continents. I've never been to South America, so I'm kind of hoping that they do something down there. I'm trying to nudge them in that direction.
Okay, that sounds exciting. We're running out of time now, but it's been great having you on, and great having your insight on all these things, and appreciate you sharing your story.
For sure. Happy to hop on here. Great to chat with you.